it's Sam with Lady Noriko. Today we're gonna watch Our Neutrality, The Animated History of Switzerland by Suibhne? I don't know. I don't know. I'm a Swiss Vtuber and I live my entire life in Switzerland. I want to share more about my country, but I'm not talented enough to make an actual good video about it. So I'm watching the Animated History of Switzerland and add what I can add. If you enjoy this kind of content, please like and subscribe. And if you want to recommend more videos I should react to, put links please. Thank you. And yeah, let's get into it. Okay, let's learn about Swiss history and I see if I can add anything. If I can add anything, I don't just want to leech off others' content. I want to actually contribute something. Also, a little background. I'm Swiss. I live my entire life in Switzerland. So I think I know a few things about my country. So yeah, let's start watching. If the audio is okay, let me know. Smooth and reactions come down. Yeah. That's why it says in the video description, I react and comment on it. Because scares of turning into reaction. Yeah. Like, I love react content. I just love watching videos with an anime girl sitting in a corner. But I want to actually contribute something. You know, make it actual fair use. I especially want to contribute a lot to the Not Just Spikes videos because he's not very fond of reaction content. So we'll see how it works. So, last one I have to sleep since I have to go up for like 20 cam. Thank you for the $5 and have a good night. Okay, let's actually watch the video now.
This episode is supported by World of Tanks. Thank you to all of these nice...
Wait, why the subtitle is French? Ew. Why are they French? I want English, so I can read.
...people for supporting the channel on Patreon. If you'd like to join them and also get a free 𝗍 enamel pin, you can do so at patreon.com/𝗍.
Is the audio volume good?
Merch store has a 20% off for Black Friday promo going on up until December 3rd. So if you want to get some merch, you can use the code.
Yeah, this video is 5 years old, by the way.
Thanks.
So none of this is up to date.
What is Switzerland and who are the Swiss?
Hi, it's me. I am the Swiss.
Come on, just look at the place. Ask anyone and you'll get a variety of answers. It's the country with the cows and the cheese. Okay, that's not helpful. What about the Swiss language? German, right? Except
No, it's not German.
I seem to understand it, and also some Swiss people speak French, Italian, and a fourth one everyone seems to forget.
Yep. We have 4 national languages. German, but we don't speak High German like Germany or Austria. We have our own variation of German, Swiss German, which Germans very struggle to understand. But I know there's a good video explaining how Swiss German works. Maybe we add this to the stream as well. But yeah, it's very different. It's similarly structured, but very different. Also, a third of the country speaks French. I live very close to that. I have French neighbors. I hate it. My entire town is bilingual. My entire town is both French and German. So when I go to the bakery or to the grocery store or to the pharmacy, everyone working there speaks both German and French. And that is very common. Like, it is common for Swiss people to know 2 to 3 languages. And Italian is only spoken south of the Alps, in Ticino, or Ticino, or whatever. Ticino, Ticino, same thing. And Rätoromance is only spoken in a small part in the Alps, which I personally never heard ever. I never heard anyone speak it. I didn't know it exists because I don't live anywhere close to that region. Bleu Loyon is in one of these videos. Yeah, so part of them is compulsory to learn. We can choose anything. Okay, when I was in school, I live in the German part of Switzerland. Specifically in Canton Bern. So I'm Bernese. That is German speaking. And we have German from 1st grade until we graduate. And in 5th grade, we have mandatory French until we graduate. Because Bern is bordering the French part of Switzerland. Like, if you live close to Ticino, you're more likely to have Italian in school. But I'm not too familiar with that. I can only speak for the Bernese region, by the way. And from 7th grade onward, we learn English. But that's when I stopped going to school, so I learned English by myself. But yeah, language is a big part of Swiss culture. And like, it's so funny when I see countries like America go fucking nuts when someone speaks Spanish. Even though that's the second most spoken language in the country. Meanwhile, smaller Switzerland has 4 languages. It's fucking wild to me.
This is even less helpful. Here we go. The origins of the Swiss nation-state. This should clear things up. Ancient Switzerland was dominated by the Helvetii and the Rhaetians, who flourished in the Holstein.
Helvetii is the very old term we call the Swiss. Like, you know how every country has like a shortened version with 2 initials or whatever? Like Germany is DE, America is US, and so on. And Switzerland is CH, which means Confederatio Helvetica. And Helvetica comes from Helvetii. Still a fun fact. And Confederatio Helvetica is Latin, yeah.
That culture, living side by side in the valleys of the Alps.
That's the origin.
The Romans. So far, so good. When the Romans fell, the Alps became the crossroads for Germanic tribes like the Alemanni and the Lombards invading the empire. So there we have our answer. The Swiss are just a weird mishmash of Celtic, Germanic, and Roman people without their own identity. Turns out the truth resists simplicity. Look a little closer and we can find something that united these people over all those centuries. Alpine transhumance.
Yeah, the Alps.
What the heck is transhumance? I'm glad you asked. Transhumance is the process of droving livestock to higher pastures in the summer to low valleys in the winter.
I mentioned this before sometimes on stream, but whenever the cows come down from the Alps, it's called the 𝗍𝗶𝗆𝗃, I think. And you can just go and watch the cows parading down from the Alps back to the valley. And it's really cool. I've been to some of those a few times. It's really cool. It's Latin, so one language was not favorite of the other. Yeah. Hi, Sujan, how you doing? Where can you teach at least 3 languages? Oh god.
Sounds almost too simple, right? Well,
but it's very cool to watch cows come down from the Alps.
Identity than we think. The seasons and the mountains dictated literally everything. Where you lived, what kind of house you built, what you farmed to eat, and what trade routes you were on. The Swiss were tied together by the Alps, passing down their way of life from culture to culture for centuries, laying down a nationalistic identity deeper than religion, monarchy, or even what language they spoke. The Swiss.
That's how the multiculturalism or multilingual stuff in Switzerland works. We're all united by the Alps.
Swiss were Swiss long before Switzerland even existed. Alright, this intro has gone on long enough.
Yay, World War! No, it's fucking opening.
Borders separate people. They separate trade,
culture, food, and language. Some borders are man-made, such as the ones we have today, but nothing separates humans like natural borders. Rivers,
True.
oceans, deserts, and in this case, mountains. The Swiss Alps form the border between the Germanic, Franco, and Italic language families. Okay, that was easy. Let's talk about Reichsfrei. The Holy Roman Empire granted the state of Reichsfrei to cities or areas that were difficult to get to or largely self-sufficient, like, for example, the Alps. It made them self-governing, with no count, lord, or duke to answer to, only the emperor. 3 Alpine cantons, Schweiz, Uri, and Unterwalden, were granted Reichsfrei to govern the trade route linking Italy to the empire. Together, they were Waldstaaten, forest cantons, and their relationship with each other.
Yeah, that's the
over time.
origin.
They worked together on matters of
Who's
trade,
gonna think about an
defense,
tax?
defense in a series of treaties. Why the need for treaties, though? Turns out these areas really loved their Reichsfrei status. Ruling themselves high up in the mountains was a pretty sweet gig.
Yeah, the Swiss always loved their freedom. Like, this is probably something that comes up in a later video, but did you know that Switzerland was the blueprint for America's freedom? Did you know that? Freedom originated in Switzerland. And you can kind of see why.
When an Austrian royal family started eyeing up their land, they were quick to retaliate. We don't need no hungry Habsburgs eating up our villages and towns into a conglomeration of hereditary states.
Yeah, this is that fuck you to the Habsburg.
Including but not limited to incest, which...
Wait, what? Incest? Wait.
Hereditary states
Wait.
perpetuated by selective marriage alliances, including but not limited to incest.
The Swiss said we don't want to be ruled by your fucking incest family tree. The Swiss were always based, even before they were Swiss. That is so fucking based. Gotta keep the royal bloodline pure.
Which, you know, they could have just gone with, like, fight the power or something.
Nah, fight the power is boring.
That infamous Austrian noble house that practiced some pretty land-hungry marriage policies. But they actually had their start in modern-day Switzerland, coincidentally, so we all learned something new today. The Protestants banded together and drove the Habsburgs out of their land.
Also, there's a story about why they fought against the Habsburg, which is connected to William Tell. I'm sure everyone knows about William Tell, right? The dude with a crossbow shot an apple off his kid's head. The story goes that then some noble or royalty, I don't remember who, crossed through his village. William Tell didn't bow to him. And it was seen as a massive disrespect, and that's why he had to shoot the apple of his kid's head as punishment. Because the Habsburg thought that he would miss. And then later on, because he was able to show disrespect to the Habsburg, that fueled the rebellion, apparently. It is debated if it's true or not.
And at the Battle of Mortgarten, the Swiss were allegedly so brutal that they gained a reputation as bloodthirsty warriors. The Swiss of all people. I know, right? Bet you weren't expecting that. The three became known as the Alte Eidgenossenschaft, but we just call them the Old Swiss Confederacy, Swiss coming from the...
We still call, not we, some like very patriotic people call themselves still Eidgenosse. Which, you know, patriotic term. It's like calling an American a patriot, basically.
Canton of Schweiz. The 3 cantons soon became 8. The cities of Lucerne, Zurich, Glarus, Bern, and Zug.
Bern! That's where I live! Yay! Now you know where I live!
also weren't fans of the stinky Habsburgs and liked the cut of the Confederates' jib.
Yeah, fuck the Habsburg. Everyone, hashtag fuck the Habsburg, please.
The Habsburgs, thoroughly unamused, thought this whole Confederacy thing had gotten way out of hand and it was time to put an end to it. Twice they
Burn mentioned, yeah.
the Confederacy's land, and twice they were repelled. Mortgarten was no fluke victory.
I don't know about the battle at 𝗂𝗃𝗃, but I know about the one at 𝗡𝗃𝗃. 𝗂𝗃𝗃𝗃.
The Swiss,
I know where 𝗂𝗃𝗃 is, like the town, but I don't remember what happened there exactly.
Freiburg, Neuchâtel, and Solothurn.
Neuchâtel and Freiburg are the French ones, by the way. And you can see Bern borders at the French-speaking region.
Joined as associates of Bern, Appenzellerland broke away from the Abbey of St. Gall, Aargau was conquered after its duke was exiled for supporting the anti-pope, and yes, anti-pope.
The anti-pope was a thing. In case you didn't know.
Joined as associates of Bern, Appenzellerland broke away from the Abbey of St. Gall, Aargau was conquered after its duke was exiled for supporting the anti-pope, and yes, anti-pope is a real thing. The German-speaking half of the Prince-Bishopric of Sion broke away from the Dukes of Savoy, and Schaffhausen and St. Gallen became associates. The last player we'll be looking at is the Grisons. This territory was divided at the time.
This is where they speak the fourth language, by the way, this region. Not all of it, but some parts.
Three alliances: the Grey League, the 10 jurisdictions, and the League of the House of God. The area was notable for its Romansh-speaking population,
Romansh, yeah.
the often forgotten fourth stepchild of Switzerland, remnants of the old Romanized Ratian people from the days of the Roman Empire. Okay, so the map is beginning to look a lot more like the Switzerland we all know and love. Not without some hiccups though, like the old Zurich War and the Rouen Affair, which would nearly collapse the whole thing.
I don't know about the
Soon
Zurich
enough,
War.
These brothers' bonds would be sealed in warfare. Firstly, the Confederates conquered the Thurgau, which really upset the Habsburgs. In retaliation, Sigismund of Austria made a deal with Charles the Bold of Burgundy to attack the Swiss in exchange for land. However, ironically, the Habsburgs and the Swiss ended up working together against Charles in the Burgundy Wars after he took the land without delivering on his part of the deal. The Swiss and the Habsburgs defeated Charles 3 times in battle, in the last of which he was killed. The Swiss proverb was coined: Charles the Bold lost his goods at Conson, his boldness at Merton, and his blood at Nancy.
I'm trying to think, where is Morton again? I mean, Morton is at Lake Morton. But that's like only like 30 kilometers from where I live.
To try and ensure this won't happen again,
That is really close to where I live.
Confederacy with blackjack and called the Swabian League, and the two became fierce rivals. Maximilian I then tried to annex land in the Grisons to control the Umbriel Pass, and had passed reforms in the Diet of Worms to centralize his power over the empire. This erupted the Swabian War, and the Habsburgs, together with their Swabian League, were swiftly defeated.
Yeah, the Swiss didn't lose a single battle to my knowledge. The Swiss never lost a battle.
Two wars had numerous consequences. Along with creating a sense of unity, it had allowed
Unless
the
I get
Swiss
corrected
to
in this
assert
video.
themselves as a strong military power, able to project its influence outward, west to the Jura Mountains, and south to the Leventina Valley, a traditional Lombard Italian-speaking area. Right, let's do an overview.
Notice I have
Switzerland is starting
massive to
to
Swiss,
look
yeah.
and feel pretty Swiss. But there was still the matter of what being Swiss actually meant. These cities had banded together in opposition to the Burgundians, French, and Austrians. But what exactly were they now? Well, let's take a look at what the Swiss had to offer the world.
Bishop is played for my friend.
Okay,
Yeah.
but not nation.
Like, Switzerland has to this day one of the strongest militaries. Or militias, more accurately. And it's entirely based on self-defense. Complete on self-defense. And it's probably gonna happen in the video, but it was very it's very obvious that it's purely self-defense during World War II. Having to both defend from the Axis powers and the Allies at once. Because yes, the Allies weren't really that nice either. Sorry to say that. Imagine the time the Swiss guards saved the Pope from the sack of Rome. Yeah. I'm sure we get into that about the whole mercenary thing.
Centuries. Fighting? Maybe we're onto something here. Turns out the Burgundian Wars had given
Gonna go into it right now. Switzerland had an amazing mercenary industry.
the Swiss a bit of a reputation as incredible warriors. In a time when Europe was moving away from feudal levies toward career soldiers, Swiss soldiers became highly prized. Makes sense, right? The Swiss were basically stuck in the mountains all day defending.
Look at it, yeah. Of almost everyone being able to own a gun is kind of say. Yeah, we have a video later on about gun culture. So I'm not gonna get into that now. But gun ownership is pretty similar between America and Switzerland. The only difference is that we actually only give guns to people who are mentally sane. You know, and every able-bodied man gets military training for the militia. And they get to keep their guns. So they learn proper gun safety in the military. That's why it's so different. And it's also a mentality about what guns actually are. But we get into that in another video.
Their valleys and trade routes, quietly getting really good at fighting. Having a Swiss contingent in your army could mean the difference between victory and defeat. And just like that,
The Swiss were strong.
mercenary industry was born.
Do you see why I'm a Swiss halberdier VTuber now? Do you get it now? Why it chose to be a halberdier?
Everyone wanted them in their armies. The mercenaries were so effective that the elite members were sought after as bodyguards, a sort of late medieval personal detail for royal courts all over Europe. The top echelon of these guards were
Yeah, we exported soldiers through the entire continent.
and the Pontifical Swiss Guard of the popes in Rome. Having a Swiss Guard force was kind of a badge of honor, since they were seen as fiercely loyal, capable, and would fight to the death with honor. Now it's time to talk about something that, according to my comments, I didn't go into nearly enough detail about in my Italy video, the Italian Wars. I'll let you guess where they were fought. The Italian Wars were basically a dispute between the rising powers at the time for influence over Europe. France, the Habsburgs, Spain, Venice, and the papacy, and Italy was their battleground. The wars themselves were long and complicated and ultimately fruitless, other than setting the stage for a rivalry between the enormous Habsburg Empire of Charles V and his French and Ottoman enemies, which admittedly became quickly overshadowed by
I know you references. Hi, Mario. Yeah, I'm Swiss. Never made it a secret.
publicly declaring that the Catholic Church was corrupt and illegitimate. His
Yeah, this is Martin Luther, who kind of fucked over the church. He made the church split in two.
Protestant ideas would ring with some of the German leaders, beginning the Schmalkaldic War. Charles soon realized that the whole thing simply wasn't worth the headache and signed the Peace of Augsburg, legalizing Protestantism before abdicating and dividing his empire. Don't worry, buddy, ain't no shame in quitting. So, why did I bring up the seemingly unrelated war in the first place? Turns out the Swiss were instrumental to the conflict. Everybody wanted Swiss mercenaries, and war is good for business.
Yeah, but because everyone wanted Swiss people, Swiss warriors, it often ended up being Swiss versus Swiss. Which is kind of the dark part of the whole mercenary thing. I mean, at a point the church was telling people they could pay to win for heaven. Yeah. He listed 95 reasons why the church is a scam. Which is so fucking base. There's an entire movie about him, actually, which I watched when I was a kid.
The Swiss
It's a really good movie.
And profited greatly off of the seemingly never-ending conflicts. But let's get back to that monk. He was, of course, Martin Luther, the father of the Reformation. His teachings would have a profound impact on a Swiss preacher, Ulrich Zwingli. And boy, do we have to talk about Zwingli. The humanist preacher
So the
from
Swiss
St.
changed the
Gallen
church.
stunned onlookers in Zurich in an act of defiance when he publicly called for the people to partake in the sacrilegious and downright blasphemous sin of eating sausages.
Chad, get your wieners out. It's time to eat some wieners. I love wieners. Yeah, eating sausages was bad once.
That's right, he defied the church by claiming that the practice of not eating meat during the time of Lent was unscriptural and should be voluntary, not mandatory. The event became known as the Affair of the Sausages.
That's the actual name of it. I learned about this in school. That's the actual name of it. The Affair of the Sausages. Is that wrong? Yeah, it is. Like, for those who don't know, I grew up Christian, but stopped going to church when I was a child because I didn't give a shit. But I'm aware of most things about Christianity.
Soon enough, the Reformation had taken a hold of Switzerland, with some of the cantons switching over to the Protestant faith. I wonder where this will go. Now, the Protestant Reformation...
Eating meat during Lent should be voluntary. Yeah, exactly.
It kick-started the German Peasants' War against serfdom, the French expulsion of the Huguenots, the Catholic Counter-Reformation, and eventually the 30 Years' War.
Switzerland triggered the 30 Years' War because they wanted to eat sausages. That is absolute comedy. Sausage war. The splitting of the church and the 30-Year War were triggered by a dude who wanted to eat sausages during Lent. The Wiener situation is crazy.
One of the bloodiest conflicts in European history. Now, because all sides of the war had used...
Yeah, this kind of happened.
Switzerland basically stayed out of the war. But soon, the continent got tired of butchering each other and sat down to negotiate peace in Westphalia. After signing the agreement, the European powers capped off the meeting by recognizing...
So do you say with the sausage party, or are you
Switzerland as independent, then tossed them the keys and told them to lock up. Thanks, I guess. So Switzerland is now fully independent, and Europe
Yay!
is at peace. Other than dealing with some local things, they kind of just sat around for a while.
And if that the entire mercenary industry collapsed.
With not much to do.
So what do you do now with the warriors is the question.
Let's talk about Swiss neutrality. Although their mercenaries fought in nearly every war, and the Swiss Guard were the bodyguards of dozens of monarchical courts, the Swiss themselves stayed out of wars in the early modern period. Why? Turns out the Europeans had become so dependent on Swiss mercenaries that neither side wanted the Swiss to land in the hands of the other.
Like, why would you attack the country? Where do you get the strongest warriors from? It just makes sense. It's similar with how Switzerland stored valuables for both sides of the World War. Like, why would you attack them if they hold your valuables and shit?
So everyone kind of just mutually agreed.
That would just be attacking your own resources.
You leave it alone, we leave it alone. Everyone can buy mercenaries, and everybody wins. Especially the Swiss, who profited greatly off of the wars. After all, good at something, never do it for free.
Yeah. What is it good for? Money.
The old Confederacy became the Helvetic Republic, and then the new Confederacy, both client states of France. Now, we all know how this story ends with Napoleon being defeated at Waterloo because he couldn't escape if he wanted to.
Sure.
But as for the Swiss, the Europeans sat down at the Treaty of Paris and formally guaranteed Swiss neutrality, disbanding the Swiss mercenaries and the Swiss Guard once and for all. The ideas of the revolution being fully put into place in 1848 after the Civil War of the Sonderbund, formally federalizing Switzerland into a modern, constitutional and federal nation-state. Switzerland was Swiss, and its citizens, no matter what language, background or religion, were given freedoms and rights by their government. And surprisingly enough, they remained fiercely
in Switzerland,
loyal
we're
to
all
their national
equal
founding
as long as you're a
fathers,
citizen.
staying out of the First and Second World War, even when compelled by others to get involved. It allowed for the growth of the Swiss banking industry, a controversial topic to this day, as well as making it a haven for revolutionaries, some of whom history has not been kind to.
Mussolini, Lenin, and
Something
Sure.
that embodies the Swiss legacy for me has always been the final last stand of the Swiss Guard in revolutionary France.
Oh yeah, this is such a good story. Like, as a Swiss, I'm very proud of this part of history.
Revolutionaries stormed the palace at Tuileries to capture the king, whom they didn't know had already fled, and the Swiss Guard fought to the death in one last triumphant stand to protect their king. This monument of the Swiss lion protecting the coat of arms of the French king, wounded and dying, was carved into the stone wall at Lucerne to remember their sacrifice.
It's such a beautiful thing to watch, to see. Like, if you ever visit Switzerland, go to Lucerne. Not just as a city pretty and everything, but also to see this. Like, bro, Swiss soldiers were the fucking goats of Europe. Like, goddamn.
The last remnant of the Swiss Guard today are the Pontifical Swiss Guard, who serve the Pope in the Vatican City, complete with old regalia. But bear in mind, the actual Swiss Guard on duty are not on display. They're probably somewhere where you can't see them, but they
Yeah.
see you.
The ones in the armor are just for show. But even those have proper military training. But they just walk around in armor and halberds for show. Which is a pretty city.
Embodies neutrality.
It's not.
Some
It's
criticize
absolutely
this
not.
stand, claiming that by not standing for anything, they also don't stand up to anything, such as in the case of the Second World War.
Yeah, that's a thing that people shit on Switzerland for a lot, is that we don't take the right side. Like, neutrality is very controversial. And even in Switzerland, there is starting to have a movement for Switzerland to stop being so neutral. Like, I don't really pay attention much to Swiss politics. But there is someone, I think from the Green Party, I could be wrong, who wants Switzerland to join the EU, which would make us not neutral anymore. Because it would just become Germany's bitch, like the rest of the EU. And like, yes, not standing up against anything, sure. Like, bro, come on. Like, if Switzerland would stand up against, in World War II, if Switzerland would have stood up against Nazi Germany, I wouldn't be here right now. Like, if Switzerland would spit on the Axis power, even with the amazing self-defense that Switzerland has, like, no. Switzerland plays it smart for self-preservation because we have the unfortunate position of being surrounded by powerful countries like Germany, Italy, and France. So the best you can do is just play it neutral. Because we were supposed to stay neutral, then decided to help everyone even if we couldn't help ourselves. Yeah. Germany has their own problems. They need a new government. Yeah, we don't go into politics right now. I'm just saying about Swiss neutrality, how that's more out there is more and more of a push from the left to join the EU, which would only have negative for Switzerland, by the way. It would only negatively impact Switzerland. Germany sausages and 𝗟𝗴𝗃𝗃𝗏𝗆 in peace. Exactly.
War when they refused to enter the war against the injustices of.
Okay, like, why would Switzerland join the Second World War? If to the north you have Germany, to the south you have Italy, and to the west you have conquered France. Like, what was Switzerland supposed to do? It is actual people who shit on Switzerland for this.
The Third Reich and the fascist regimes, while still others applaud the neutrality stance. As for me, I don't know. I'm going Switzerland on this one. But you don't have to. You can take the fight to those regimes in World
of Tanks! I'm just gonna keep the sponsor running out of respect. Even though his promo code probably doesn't work anymore after 5 years. But it's a sign of respect, you know, just like sitting through the credits of a movie.
It's the best tanks-based game out there. World of Tanks is a great
It could put into the hardest defense map in existence. Yeah.
Definitely check it out.
Like during World War II, Switzerland was literally surrounded by the Third Reich. Like, Switzerland is the smallest country. Back then, we had like, I don't know, maybe 5 to 6 million citizens. What are we supposed to do?
Download the game to your PC in minutes using my link and start
like,
playing.
goddamn.
Thank you everyone for watching. The links to my Twitter and Reddit
It doesn't make any sense.
And also, thank you to all those people who signed up on Patreon.
Let's grab the Draco Shield, true.
If you'd like to support, you can also do so on Patreon. Also, if you'd prefer to just do a once-off purchase...
Yeah, that's the first video. That was good. It didn't go into detail though. Certain situations used when teaching realism in international relations. Yeah, also, hi people I didn't greet during the react. Hi. But yeah, Swiss POV of 4 is very realistic, so I can see that, yeah. The thing that's most controversial about the whole World War II thing is that Switzerland had made business with the Axis powers. You know, to not get bullied by the bullies, you have to kind of play nice with them, right? That's how it works. Also, the Allies weren't really that nice to Switzerland either. Like, there was multiple situations where British and American planes dropped bombs on Switzerland on accident. One of those accidents was Zurich, which isn't anywhere near the German border. So why did Switzerland take a side? Both sides of the Second World War have spit on Switzerland. Like, damn. No, like, when Second World War is topic with Switzerland, nobody talks about how America shat on Switzerland too. Nobody talks about that. Switzerland had to defend itself multiple times against Allied airplanes. Not just against the Nazis. Oh no, yeah, I know. But like, when it comes to history, America has a lot of stories, and they don't know about that shit. They only hear about how great America and the Allies were. But everyone, both sides, have done dumb shit to Switzerland. Like one bombing, I understand the bombing of Schaffhausen, because Schaffhausen is like a little nip that dips into the German border. Like that accidental bombing, I understand. But Zurich? Like damn. It we, the dream country, were neutral. Yeah. Like Switzerland did the right thing by just not allying with anyone. And just doing whatever needs to happen to keep the citizens safe. people safe is more important than punishing the aggressor. To some degree. Sounds German to me. Let's blast it. Probably some US German. Yeah. Equal rights, equal lefts, equal invasion. And like, I know of one situation where I think a British pilot had to emergency land in Switzerland, and the Swiss helped them out by fixing the plane and sending them on their way. Like, that happened as well. Switzerland really just wanted its space to be left alone. I think something similar also happened with a German plane, but I could be wrong. It's just, okay, just chill for a second and go back home. Like, basically that. Like, oh, you went in the wrong door, please leave. Without actually punishing anyone. Just please leave us alone. We just wanna sit in our room and play video games. We're gonna make him overstay. Yeah, of course. But yeah, I should watch a video. I should react to a video too about the situation specifically about World War II. Because Switzerland's situation in World War II is so interesting. Because it was the only non-annexed European country, Central European country. But yeah, Switzerland is pog. I just love the history of the mercenaries. I'm so proud of that shit. Especially with the thing about the French king thing with the Lucerne statue. That shit makes me proud to be Swiss.